What do you got in your mind?
What sort
you
of
talked about-
conversations have you had? Have you had any with President Cullerton and with the governor? And how confident are you, if you are, that this budget that passed today is going to be the final spending plan?
I don't expect that this budget will be the final spending plan. This is a budget that's been adopted by one chamber. This is a two-chamber legislature with the governor. Cullerton and I met with the governor yesterday, and we reiterated our position that's now about 4 months old. That we want to work with the governor, with the budget office, and we want them to tell us where they think there should be changes in what we're doing with these budget bills. So we're very anxious to work with the governor. Our goal is to adopt a budget that works for the state of Illinois and for the people of the state of Illinois in a depressed economy. That's where we are. We're not sending any ultimatums by the adoption of this budget today. We recognize it's a two-chamber legislature. I told Senator Cullerton this morning that I thought we would pass a budget today and that he and I should sit down and decide how we should proceed on a procedural basis to reconcile differences between the two chambers.
Did the governor give any indication of whether he thinks a budget, roughly the spending level you're talking about, is acceptable to him?
The governor would like to spend more money. The governor would like to spend more money, and I presume that the governor would be interested in new revenue initiatives, right? In the House, we've gone through what I think is a very intelligent process. Representative Cross and I worked with the Revenue Committee to come up with an agreed amount of money that could be spent. It wasn't something that was voted by Mr. Cross and myself. It was voted by every member of the Revenue Committee and then adopted by every member of the House on a unanimous roll call. So the House is of record as to how much money we think is available to be spent in this budget. After that, the House has adopted a resolution which says that if more money comes in over that revenue estimate, that'll be used to pay bills. That's the position of the House. We're not telling anybody that this is an ultimatum. We're prepared to sit and talk and work through this, but we've taken action.
Did the governor offer any concrete suggestions on particular revenues that could
Oh,
be brought in?
I would expect that the budget office would have a laundry list of ideas as to how to raise additional money. You can ask them for the list.
Now that your members have voted for some very painful cuts, do you think they'd be more receptive to looking at any additional revenues to be able to change some of those?
Well, they can all speak for themselves, but the facts are what they are. Every member of the House went of record in a vote as to how much money was available to spend. And then on the Democratic side, 1/2 of the Democratic members are members of appropriations committees. 1/2 participated in the budget making. All the bills passed, not unanimously, but they all passed by a very healthy roll call. So we've pretty well established a position. I'm not going to say that we're not prepared to talk, negotiate, maybe change, but we've established a position.
Do you think that you and the Senate President are prepared to pass a budget with or without input from the governor if he takes too long or if what he wants is not possible?
Speaking for myself, I plan to work with the governor and the budget office. That's what I plan to do. And I'm not going to engage in speculation or what if. I'm available to work on budget making. And I want to work with the governor and every member of the legislature.
What are the latest discussions on House Bill 14, on the ComEd proposal? We heard from the Attorney General yesterday.
Yeah, how about that, huh? I'm not that intimately involved in House Bill 14. I know the broad parameters of the bill. You really ought to address those questions to Representative McCarthy.
We've got pensions still on the table, workers' comp still on the table that the governor said he wants to pass this year. You've got a couple of weeks to work on that. Is that something that you guys plan to do before you leave by May 31st?
Well, I think both issues are very important, and Mr. Cross mentioned a third, which is retiree health care costs. All those issues are very important. In the case of pensions and retiree health care costs, there's a direct impact on the state budget making. In the case of workers' compensation, that's a matter between employers and employees, but it's a high cost item for Illinois employers. It acts as a disincentive to attracting business, maintaining business, and clearly the workers' compensation system should be changed. In the case of workers' compensation, you're dealing with the 5 most powerful lobbies in the legislature. So the Medical Society, the Hospital Association, the trial lawyers, organized labor. There's one other that I'm forgetting right now. Chamber of Commerce, the business groups. So it's a very difficult issue. My position is that we should work with all of these people. We should try and fashion an agreed bill that will reduce costs. And that's where some people would say we should reduce costs by over $500 million. Others would say $400 million would be sufficient. My ultimate position, if we're unable to come to an agreement with all of these contending groups, is to support Representative Bradley's bill, which would take workers' compensation and put it into the court system. Today, in workers' compensation, there's a club among doctors and lawyers and sometimes labor unions, which is not working in the best interest of the injured worker. Okay? And I think that ought to be changed. If we can't change it through the negotiation process, I would support the Bradley bill. And we have a very healthy roll call in the House on the Bradley bill to just take workers' compensation, repeal the statute, eliminate the Workers' Compensation Commission, and put all of this into the court system.
When would you expect a vote on the new map? When would you expect to have a map out that the public could see, and when do you expect to have a vote?
I would think that we'd be prepared to vote on it as soon as the media approves it. We know that the media is going to greet it with open arms and say, "Kumbaya, isn't this great?"
Are you going to send us a copy? We're going to be able to take a look at it over the weekend?
Not this weekend.
What is the timetable for that? Do you have any?
We don't have one.
Are you opposed to the Senate bill that came over that takes back the yearly filing for senior property tax exemptions back to a one-time filing in Cook County?
I think I already answered that.
Yeah, our position has been that there's been documented instances where people have gotten the homestead exemption and they didn't deserve it because they were not made to reapply. I mean, the evidence is there. Now, the response is that it's costly. Well, you know, that gets you back into budget making. Same thing we're doing right here.
On the budget, I realize you're living within the realities of the state's fiscal situation, but how well do you think this budget would serve the people in terms of services? What kind of sacrifices would they feel if this is approved?
There'll be a lot of sacrifices by people who have received services from the state of Illinois and apparently need services from the state of Illinois. It takes you back to how much money is available to spend. The process that we worked through with Representative Cross in the House Revenue Committee. So it is what it is.
People shouldn't look at this as just trimming some fat or waste, but
Everybody will have their own view as to what happened here. Some people in the state will think that this is the right thing to do. We should live within our means. Others will not be happy. They'll be sad because they may lose some services from the state of Illinois. That's where we're called upon to make decisions.